Noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine Pun Kelly, get caught in the fray. Facts and logic with a twist of chest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. Humor blows the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows that set the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity when they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Fun Kelly with the center clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts flow. Step into
Hello, and welcome to the Pun Show. I know it has been a long while since I have done a podcast here. You can see I've got some boxes behind me right now. We're doing some organizing, so sorry about the clutter, but you can learn to deal with it. Anyway, well, you can depending on which format you're looking at it. If you're in the profile view, you can't see it, so that's good. But if you're not in the profile view, then there's all the boxes back there. Anyway, there is a lot that has happened since I have last been on here. Most of the Iran war has happened since I last broadcast. We've had elections. We've had all kinds of things going on. We've, of course, had just untold corruption. So if anybody wants to say anything at any point, just go ahead and hop on. If you want to say hello again or whatever. I'm hoping that I'll be back in a more consistent way again. I was just having a really difficult period. I think I've worked through things and I'm doing better now. But anyway, if you're watching, thank you for watching. And so I'm going to talk about a number of things here, and I'll just go through them in the order that they come to me. So the first thing that I'll talk about is just what happened today. Inflation is up to, what was it, 4.3% or something? Let me Google that real quick and make sure I'm being accurate. 4.2%. And it was in that Donald Trump's response to that is that he loves the inflation. Hey, Harry. I really enjoy seeing some of my viewers again. Yeah, I'm glad to be back. Thanks for watching, buddy. Maybe we'll get the Harry and Gary show again. Anyway, so this is like almost like all his campaign promises are tied to that one statement that he loves inflation, right? Like, because why is there inflation? There is inflation. It's not entirely exclusively because of the Iran war, but predominantly because of the Iran war. There's also some other factors that are playing in, like the tariffs, like the effect of mass deportations on the economy. Those are also because, you know, like when you cut supply, prices go up. When you cut out the people that provide the supply, you cut the supply. So yeah, inflation is up thanks to Donald Trump. And he loves it. He said, I love the inflation. Harry says, did you see Donald Trump booed out of the New York City and Pete Hegseth booed out of the Normandy D-Day celebrations? I did not see the D-Day thing because part of my whole vacation from everything was not an entire vacation from politics, but I stepped away from politics mostly. I needed to get some sanity back. I have personal issues that were bigger, but I've just been like struggling with job related stuff. Anyway, I had those struggles, and I didn't need the extra pressure of just a daily inundation of Donald Trump being a butthole. I got to remember I'm a PG show. So, but I did, because I'm watching the finals, I did see him booed at Madison Square Garden. And I think like that was hilarious because they made everybody come in 2 hours before the game started. They shut down, traffic all around the building. They had, people could only bring certain gear. So like he had like, I don't know how many fans, how many does Madison? So Madison Square Garden, 20,000, almost, well, 19,500. So let's just make it an even 20,000. 20,000 people. He's a narcissistic old man, and he's he thinks everything falls revolves around him. He's nappy dying. Nobody like he stays awake all night posting stuff on Truth Social, which is like calling a bald man curly or a fat man thin. So anyway, all right, we got some highs. Okay. All right, we got Mohammed says hi Mohammed, how you doing? Fair enough. I get that, but my life eating, breathing, sleeping, and drinking politics. Oh, can you hear me now? I think what happened is my wife. Can you hear me right now? Yeah. I think what happened is my wife, was going somewhere and she started the car, and for some reason the microphone and like the laptop connected to the car stereo. And anyway, so stranger things have happened. So okay, I'm back. Don't worry. Thanks for letting me know that, because I would have been worried. So anyway, he just basically ruined the first finals game in 27 years in New York just so he could pretend that everybody cares about what he thinks. Like he has to make everything about himself. Everything. Like he makes Jesus' crucifixion about himself. Like everything is about Donald Trump. So that's the first thing I just, So anyway, I didn't see the Pete Hegseth thing, Harry, but I can imagine he's not the most popular man in Europe right now. And the whole way, I just feel like I have to apologize to the rest of the world for America, since Donald Trump will never do it. He acts like the rest of the world is embracing him or something. The rest of the world despises him, and he's not getting any more popular. If gas prices are high here, hey, Harry, what are gas prices in the UK like now? I mean, it's far worse everywhere else in the world, but because we subsidize it, and we also generate enough of our own gas, but like we're paying $4.50 a gallon, or it was up to $450 a gallon. And I was on the news. They were saying that now it's up to $500 per household or something. Like the average American has spent $500 more on gas because of the war. Another $2,000 in additional money on food because of the tariffs. Then the money, the inflation from the tariffs, I don't even know what that would. But you've got Americans that probably spent at least $3,000 more dollars on the same exact things that they were buying a year because Donald Trump is a terrible president and his policies are causing prices to go up. And that's why now it's a 67% or 63% disapproval rating on how he's handling the economy. So, to be fair, petrol prices haven't gone up that much, but our prices are extremely high by American standards already, so our country has not been impacted as much. Yeah, I think like you guys charge by the liter. We charge by the gallon because we're got to have our own way of doing things. But it's not like exactly 4 liters to the gallon. It's what is it? It's 3.78 liters in a gallon, so close to that. And so, I'll price of gas in the UK. All right, so right now you're paying about the equivalent of $7.50 a gallon. For diesel, it's 180.9 pence per liter, I guess. I don't know what that. Anyway, $1.89 per liter, or 1.89 pounds, I think, per liter. So about $8 a liter or a gallon, something like that. Anyway, hey, Angel May from the Philippines. That is a country that's on my bucket list. And the Philippines, by the way, are a country, in case you do not know, not you, Angel, but most of Americans do not know that how severely we abused Filipinos in, I think it was the Spanish-American War or something. It was right around that time. It was, I think Roosevelt was president. And they just they tortured, Philippines wanted independence or something, and we tortured them really badly. They would do this thing where they would pump their water. They'd put a garden hose in their mouth and fill them up with water and then stomp on their stomachs until they talked. I mean, America is not always the best country in the world when it comes to human rights. Our prices are about $7.50 a gallon for petrol, but for an imperial gallon, which is the gallon we would use, it would. Wow, is that because they charge royalties? I know it's not, but imperial royalty. I had to go with the pun. Our gallon is about 20. Our gallon, but what's a Texas gallon? It's actually the same size as regular gallons. Our gallon is that our gallon is bigger than your gallon. That's like some trash talk there. Anyway, so worldwide gas prices are up because of Donald Trump, but especially in the United States. And it's also other prices are up. Americans are spending more money, like a lot more money, and the inflation is going up faster than wages, which are more or less stagnant. They're going up a little bit, but not nearly as fast as inflation. And there's a lot that goes into that, because for some people, like if you're in the top 20%, you're doing better. But if you're in the bottom 80%, you're doing worse. And then there are a lot of people that this doesn't get talked about who were in the top 20%, but are now in the bottom 80% because AI took their jobs and turned it into a lower paying job or a temporary job. This is this is the struggle I'm going with because I'm a writer. Okay, Abby wants to know if I will answer, but I don't know what I'm supposed to answer. So I will answer if I see your question. I'm not a mind reader now, and it's possible that you were automatically filtered in the comments. I don't have anything to do with that. But if you, for instance, I do have the R word filtered. So if you use the R word, then that's filtered out. Retype your comment without using the R word or any offensive words, and you'll probably be fine. I don't know why. But it's possible you were just filtered. But I'm happy to answer any questions. I've talked to people that disagree with me all the time on this show. Actually, probably more. That's probably to some people I do it too much. Harry says you haven't asked a question. Which, if you have, it's possible you put one in that nobody's seen. Anyway, that's one thing I wanted to talk about is just this inflation. And that's the reason Donald Trump won the election. Like, people get so caught up in all kinds of explanations and they overcomplicate things. Hang on one second. I'm just going to do this. Hey, Google, turn on the lights. Get the lighting a little bit better in here.
2 out of 4 lights on.
Oh, shoot. Hey, Google, turn on the white light.
White light offline.
Oh, okay. Hang on a second. I'm going to have to do this. Sorry. It's an amateur show. I mean, at least I'm not charging you for this, right? Yeah, Harry, I can, I'm actually not on YouTube. That's the problem. So I'd have to go there and do all of this stuff to make you a mod right now. But I'll make you one after the show. I think I've known you long enough and well enough that I trust you. And so if Brett shows up or Kitty shows up, they're mods. But is Abby still here? Did Abby leave? I don't know. So anyway, we're all over the place today. Inflation, Donald Trump's fault. Inflation, why Donald Trump won. And to me, there's really, it's not even like a challenging question of why he won. Every day in the news, it was, oh, the Dems, or is inflation going to cost Dems the election? It's all everybody heard about. Inflation. It was only 9% for 1 month, and he brought it down. He actually did a pretty amazing job of landing it, of not going into a recession. But Donald Trump doesn't care. People don't care. The media doesn't care. And so now where we're at war with Iran, with inflation back up, the highest it's been in 3 years, and going up even more. Like, it's not going to come down in August or July, people. It's not going to come out. It's going to be expected to be above 4% until elections. It's not coming down anytime soon. Even if the war were to end today, which it's not going to end today, in spite of the fact that Donald Trump, 4 days ago said it was going to end in 2 days. He keeps this. It's going to come out 2 days after his health care plan. Sorry, Justin says, whoops. There's always a price to pay, even if it's free. Yes, this is true. The price to pay for watching my show is you have to endure my face, which is not I will admit, the most attractive face in the history of the universe. I don't even think it's top 10 if I'm being modest. Americans complained about 9% for a month. We had 11% for a year. Yeah, and that's the other thing. It was inflation was worldwide. It was worldwide. And it was because of a number of reasons. It was one of the biggest reasons was the COVID the coming out of COVID and the supply chains and all of that. That was one of the reasons. That caused a lot of it. The other thing was when Russia invaded Ukraine and disrupted the world's oil supply, which is what we're experiencing now. And this is what infuriates me about this, is that all the qualification that the Republicans are doing right now, saying that it was, it's because of a disruption in the oil supply, never made that qualification when Biden was president. And Biden isn't the one that caused the disruption. They act like, oh, it's just, there was this disruption. They always talk about it in the passive voice, right? Like, oh, yes, this was caused by a disruption in the oil supply. Not, we caused a disruption in the oil supply, and that's why we have inflation, which is what happened. We attacked Iran. Iran responded by shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, and now we have worldwide inflation again. And it is 100% Donald Trump's decision, 100% Donald Trump's fault. End of story. So I'll use this to segue into the next couple of things I wanted to talk about, which are the elections. I think that we are headed for a blue tidal wave, a blue tsunami, if you will. I like that. Blue nami. There's going to be a huge shift. 67% unfavorable rating is like, or 63% unfavorable rating. You're getting into even Donald Trump's core is starting to fall apart. Between the war, the inflation, the Epstein files, all of that, he's starting to piss off his own core. And you've got people like, like he destroyed Marjorie Taylor Greene's career. Good for him. He destroyed Nancy Mace's career. Good for him. Matt Gaetz is done. Remember, what's his name? The cow guy. I can't even think of his name. Anyway, all these conservatives who tied themselves to him, he just like threw away. He doesn't care about them. His most loyal, all they did was say, or all MTG and Nancy Mace said is, yeah, sexual predators shouldn't be able to get away with it. And he's like, or not just sexual predator, pedophiliacs. I don't know. Pedophiles, that's the word. Having trouble thinking of words today for some reason. Anyway, all they thought is, all these people that are pedophiles and paying to rape children, maybe they shouldn't get away with it. Maybe we should look into that thing. And he's like, oh, I'm going to endorse your opponent. And so now their political careers are dead. Replaced with even bigger MAGA sycophants. And so, but people like that, they also have a little bit of a following, and he's just, and it's not like he ever had the majority of Americans behind him. He won the popular vote, but he didn't win the majority of the vote. And a lot of the people that voted for him were just voting strictly based on the economy. and he's destroying it. So Carol says, yes, it is all Trump inflation, Bluenami. I want to make this term happen. Bluenami is a good word, I think. RPM is on the verge of being sacked for appointing someone because they were in the Epstein files. Your president is in them across the board, and no one who matters gives a poop. Well, people that matter give a poop, but nobody that can do anything about it gives a poop. There are some representatives and senators that have said things from both sides of the aisle, to be fair. I don't know what TR is. I'm sorry. Carol, have you been on the show before? I think this is the first time I remember seeing your name. Or have you watched the show before? You're not technically on it. So I think this Bluenami thing is going to happen. And so leading into that, I want to talk a little bit about Graham Plattner. Which I'm not from Maine. I'm in Texas, and I'm going to talk about James Tallarico in a minute. But first, I want to talk about Graham Plattner. It's a complicated subject. He is not a perfect person. And so I'll just, I'll go through this and I'll be as even and honest as I can. There are a few problems people have identified with him, and I'll address each one in order. The most serious and problematic is that he has an ex-girlfriend that has accused him of some physical abuse. She says that he grabbed her arm one time, put her arm behind her back to prevent her from leaving, and that another time he grabbed her wrist and pulled her out of a cab, and he grabbed her wrist so hard that it left marks. I don't know what kind of marks, maybe bruising or something. This was over 10 years ago. And if what she is saying is true, would be a Class D crime in Maine, which is equivalent to a misdemeanor. They don't have like felony misdemeanors, but a Class D would be on par with a misdemeanor. It wasn't chronic abuse or something. It was, but there are two other women that were interviewed that said they have that he was physically intimidating and emotionally abusive. And just, I want to square something away. There's a meme going around that says that the person that did this story got some kind of got this award for being some sort of, I can't remember what it's called, like APAC Activist of the Year or something. And so if you look into the actual truth of that, she went to college at Northwestern in 2009. And then when she was there, she was part of a group that got APAC, Activist of the Year. So this was like long before the whole thing and well, not long before the whole thing in Gaza started, but the present escalation started. The whole genocide thing started. So it's not like she's like supports genocide or something. And it's she was part of a group that won that award. And so I think that, using that to make it out like she's got some kind of vendetta against Plattner it's a reach. And so I just want to be fair all the way around here. I don't think that this was a political hit job. And so, there's always the believe all women thing, right? And I don't think we can just say, even when I say there's always the believe all women thing, I think women should be believed until they have been proven wrong, or until there's reason to doubt them. And Plattner denies the allegations. Two other women, like I said, say that he was physically intimidating. They don't say he was abusive. They say he was intimidating. I think there's a difference. I think, like if you were to, let's say a woman was trying to leave a room and you stood in front of the doorway and refused to move, and that would be physically intimidating. If you put your hands on her to prevent her from leaving the room, that would be physically abusive. And I'm not saying either one is okay. I'm just saying that there's a difference. One of the big differences is one is a crime. But anyway, let's say that what she's saying is true. Is that disqualifying? He was a three-tour vet who went through 3 tours of war. He had he's a combat veteran. He's not just eating like he's not in a non-combat situation. He had PTSD. He was drinking. He was having some emotional issues. According to him, and he's gone through counseling and he's worked those out. Subsequent to those relationships, he's had 3 more girlfriends and a wife. And none of those all those relationships are defending him now. Like none of them are accusing him of abuse. The 3 women he dated have all said he never did any of that with them. And, and his wife is still with him and defending him and saying that their marriage is stronger than it's ever been. So there's all that. I think there's a very real scenario where he got drunk a couple of times and did put hands on this woman, and that it's wrong. At the same time, I think we can also allow for the fact that he's grown. He went to counseling. He got help. He had very real reasons not to put hands on anybody, but he had very real emotional issues caused by his service. So there's, like, I'm not excusing it. I'm understanding it. And there's a difference there. And he's gone through counseling. And, I think there's a very real scenario where he does not remember that. Maybe got drunk and blacked out. And so nobody's lying. They're both saying the truth as far as they remember it. And he did that. But who he was is not who he is. It's not like he's going to go to the Senate and start putting women in arm bars to keep them from leaving or anything. I don't, and he hasn't been that person for over a decade. It's not like this, like this happened 6 months ago. And it's not like he's denying that he was, like he says, I wasn't a good boyfriend, and he's admitted to some of the other issues. So he owns his flaws and his faults. And he's grown from them. And I think we have to allow for people to grow as people. If we're gonna condemn Kristen Sinema for who she became, instead of what she ran on and who she was, then we have to allow for the changes in the other direction too, right? We have to allow for the fact that Graham Plattner has grown through counseling, sought help, gotten help, done the work on himself, and now he is not that person anymore. That's a possibility. So the second thing I want to talk about is, or connected that is this tattoo that he got. All right, and I actually should do this. I'm just gonna. Okay, it's called a Totenkopf. If Kitty were here, she could probably correct my pronunciation on that. And I'm just going to upload. I didn't do this in advance, but this is what that is. Hopefully. All right. So that's a Totenkopf. I had no idea. If you were to just showed me this randomly, I would think that it's some sort of like heavy metal band thing. Like I would not immediately know that's a Nazi symbol. And so he was in this was while he was in the military. It was 2007. He was on leave in Croatia. He saw the tattoo. He thought it was cool. He got it. He was drunk. Blah, blah, blah. He says he didn't know it was a Nazi symbol. And I venture to say most people do not know that's a Nazi symbol. If you know it's a Nazi symbol, then there is a very good chance that you are a Nazi. Not a 100% chance. I'm not saying everybody who knows what it is a Nazi, but it's kind of a granular thing. You know, it's like, it's not something everybody knows. And you have to like study, you know, Nazi imagery to know what that is. You're not going to learn that, you know, unless it was on a TV show I don't know about or something. But most people don't know what this is. You have to like endeavor to study Nazi imagery to understand, to know that you know, just recognize that as a Nazi symbol. It's not like a swastika or something. So I believe him when he says he got drunk, got a tattoo, and didn't know it was a Nazi symbol. And then when he found out, he got it covered up when she's shown that he did cover it up. And if you go, you know, like people have gone through his Reddit posts and things like that, and nobody can substantiate that he ever had any ideology that was associated with the Nazis. He said he's been anti-Nazi his whole life. So to me, this is a nothing burger. And you're entitled to disagree with me. But I think that this is just a guy got drunk and got a tattoo, not realizing it was a Nazi symbol. So, all right, Harry says a couple, but I don't think we should write off Planter because 3 people have accused him. That does not prove he actually did anything wrong. And I agree with that. I don't think it proves he did anything wrong, but even if they're telling the truth, I don't think that should dismiss him. Because what he did was a misdemeanor. And it's not, like I said, it's not who he presently is. And it's not like he hasn't taken efforts to grow from it and mature and not be that person anymore. This is entirely different than, say, Donald Trump, who, you know, just said, you know, who literally bragged about sexually assaulting women and then called it locker room talk. You can't seriously expect everyone to be perfect all the time, especially combat vets who actually served in combat, like JD, who took photos of combat. Yeah. Unlike JD, yes. JD Vance tries to pretend like he's a combat veteran when the only thing he ever shot was pictures. So, all right, let me remove this if I can. All right. All right. Whoa. Whoops. Forgot how to do. How do I get rid of this? Sorry. All right, there we go. So anyway, that's the second thing. There was another issue that came up. What was it? There's 2 more things that have come up. Oh, the Reddit post. So there's some Reddit posts that he made, you know, like back in the day. Like these are all old things. And so there were some Reddit posts that he made a long time ago. One of them, he kind of said something like, I'll just read to you exactly what he said. People worried about assault should take some responsibility for themselves and not get so effed up they wind up having sex with someone they didn't mean to. So he was talking about, you know, and so now he's been accused of justifying rape or blaming the victim on rape. And I think that this is another one of those things where, you know, there's nuance. If I sell rape whistles, if I have a store and I sell rape whistles in that store, does that mean I'm victim blaming because I'm selling something precautionary to help women to prevent themselves from being raped. I think that this is like two things can be true at the same time. Rape is 100% the rapist's fault. At the same time, there are actions that women can take to help prevent that crime from happening. And, that's one of them, and it's not to blame the victim. If I were to, like, if you go out, you leave your house for a while, let's say you're going on vacation for a couple of weeks, you go away, you don't lock up your house, and you come home and your house is robbed. It's not your fault that your house was robbed. It's the robber's fault. But that doesn't mean you didn't have a responsibility to lock your doors, prevent your house from being robbed. I think this is one of those things where there's nuance, and it's too easy to just get into this moral certainty. So having said that, he has said that he's read people's criticism of that comment and he understands it, and that he's grown from that. So it's not a position he still holds. It's a position he held 20 years ago. The other thing he said, in today's current climate, this was, again, a long time ago, in today's current climate, when every whisper of a misplaced hand brings down a feature-length film, anyone who thinks the military is purposefully covering up rape to save the cover, to save the career of some bleep captain, is clearly both an idiot and junior enough in rank or life experience to think it matters. So he's talking about the allegations that the military was covering up sexual assaults, which have since been validated. The military was doing that. So he said those things, and people were understandably offended by both of those things. But now he also says, I don't want people to judge me off the dumbest thing I said on the internet 12 years ago. I would like people to engage with who I am today. And I can honestly, on the military thing specifically, he said, I can honestly say I did not know what the bleep I was talking about. I have been for quite some time on the opposite side of this conversation. So he came around. Now he 100% agrees the military was covering up for rape. So I think the last thing that is being held against him is this whole sexting thing, which I honestly do not care about. He never actually had an affair. He just did sexting. His wife says that they went to counseling. They worked through it. Their marriage is stronger. If she doesn't care, why should I? Actually, even if she does care, why should I? But anyway, I mean, it's like a personal thing. Of all my things against Ken Paxton, that's like the least relevant. But it's funny how people that are defending Ken Paxton are attacking Graham Plattner based on these sexting things. All right. So, do I believe in Jesus Christ? Yes. Ask a question once and he will get to it. Don't repeat them. Don't repeat the same comment. Oh, hey, Skippy. I missed this. How are you doing, Skippy? Yeah, I talked about this a bit at the beginning. I was just going through some things and I just needed to take a vacation from everything. I was having some issues that I've worked through. I'm back to feeling good. So Harry says, ask a question once and he will get to it. Don't repeat the same comment. Oh, is Mello guilty? You're talking about the Carmelo Anthony thing? That's a really difficult thing. I mean, is he guilty? Well, yes. I mean, he, put his knife in the guy's heart and the guy died. So, like, in terms of did he do it? Yes, he did. And there's all kinds of emotional rhetoric charged around this, and I can understand why some people would look at Trayvon Martin and say, okay, so why is that okay, but this thing with Anthony is not okay? Why is it only black people or only white people are allowed to act in self-defense? Is the way it feels. I think they're okay from what I've read, and this, like, I am not like extremely, I haven't been absorbed in this because I've been taking a break from the news, but from my understanding, he was in a tent and it was raining, and this other guy, whose name escapes me, the guy that he killed, is wanted to kick him out of the tent because it was only for the school or whatever, and he didn't go to school there. Like, I mean, to me, that's kind of a dick move, like to just throw somebody out in the rain because they don't belong there. And it might be there might have been some racist incentive there. I don't know anything about the guy or anything like that, but like, just let the guy stay out of the rain. I don't understand why that's an issue. Anyway, Anthony wouldn't leave, and so the guy started kind of getting up in his face, and then Anthony's like, if you put your hands on me, there's going to be consequences or whatever. And then the guy put his hands on him, but it wasn't like he was like throwing punches or something. He was, according to the witnesses, which by the way were all his friends, he was trying to gently push him out, like he wasn't like violently attacking him or anything. And so then Anthony responded. He stabbed him in the chest with a pocket knife. The guy's dead, and Anthony was convicted of murder. Based on the testimonies, which is all the jury can do, like they can't, they have to go on like that. I would say a reasonable, if what the testimonies are saying is true, then I don't think Anthony was in reasonable fear. A reasonable person would think that he was in fear for his life if he got, unless he was like the witch and was gonna melt in the rain or something. On the other hand, like I can see the perception where all of these people are like ganging up on him, and where he would feel like he needs to defend himself. So all in, like, I do not have an issue with the actual verdict. I do kind of have an issue with the way that some people are not understanding why a large portion of the black community would look at the verdict and say, why aren't we allowed to defend ourselves? But anytime we have our music too loud, somebody can come up and murder us in self-defense. Like, there seems to be a double standard. That's all I'm saying. So yes, sir. He is a murderer, right? It's not racism. Well, I mean, I don't think that the jury was being racist. A fist versus a knife, self-defense. Yeah, but I'm talking about, like Trayvon Martin, didn't have a gun. He didn't have a knife, but he got a bullet. So I think that that's where people are talking about there is a double standard. People talk about, Kyle Rittenhouse because the guy had a skateboard. I mean, where is the difference? So I think that the verdict was fair, but I don't think that what was his name? Chat something or other. Anyway, I don't think that the guy was like just an innocent bystander, just minding his own business, and then he came up there and stabbed him. I think the whole thing was provoked by the guy that got killed, but I don't think that that justifies the murder. He was free to leave. Yes, he was, but why wasn't he allowed to stay? Like, why not just let him be in the tent out of the rain? Who is he hurting? Like, if the other guy hadn't initiated everything, everybody would have been alive and nobody would ever know who either of these guys were. Parents had $800,000 and spent $0 on their child's defense. I don't know anything about that. Anyway, moving on to another topic. I, addressed that as honestly as I could. And I'm just being fair. Like, I understand why the verdict was what it was, but I also understand why a lot of people feel like there is a double standard being exercised. Because Trayvon Martin wasn't going to kill anybody. Trayvon Martin was minding his own business. And then the guy, I can't think of the guy who had his radio up too loud and he got shot. Like, black people who were never remotely a threat get killed. And they don't get that same benefit of the doubt. Like, white people can kill black people in self-defense, but black people can't kill white people in self-defense. I can see why some people would feel that is the message that is being sent. I don't think that is the message that's being sent, but I can see why people would be able to get that out of this. Again, I allow for nuance. I allow for people to, like, I try to understand why people think and feel the things they do. All right. We do not use, this will be your one warning. Don't call black people apes. Don't use racist jargon, especially if you're trying to say something is not racist. I block people that make overtly racist statements. All right. Yeah. Well, that's where you're not welcome here. Wow. Your eloquence, sagacity, and conceptual acuity are exceptionally commendable. Well, gosh, I want to get a t-shirt that says that. Thank you. No, Trayvon did not almost murder Zimmerman. Trayvon was walking home minding his own business. Zimmerman assaulted Trayvon, dude. Oh, so now we've gone from racism to anti-Semitism. I thought I like bread. I like bread too. All right, so agreed, you are fair. Thank you, Mr. Yates. I appreciate that. So now I want to get into the next thing I want to talk about is the Texas election with James Talarico against Ken Paxton. And let me see, I haven't checked this recently. So they're tied in the latest polls. Talarico has led in the polls. Like, he has a really good chance of winning. And I'll go through some reasons why I think that is. I am not predicting he will win. I am predicting, I'm not making any Am I back? Hang on while I get something here. Gonna plug in the hard wire to make sure that doesn't happen again. Sorry, I got a note thing saying, that I was disconnected and reconnected. So anyway, I disappeared for a few minutes, or for about a minute. So Tallarico, back to Tallarico. I think there is a very real chance that James Tallarico wins. And I'll go through why. The number one reason is Ken Paxton is almost as popular as Ted Cruz. And Ted Cruz is not very popular. And while he did beat Beto O'Rourke, it was the closest election statewide in like 30 years or something. It's been a long time. And Beto is no Tallarico. And Ken Paxton is less popular than Ted Cruz. So that's the one thing. And like Ken Paxton, it's not just Democrats that don't like him. Remember, his own party tried to impeach him. And, some people may not know why, so I'll go through. There was another dude, this friend, I want to say, what is, I want to say Kenny something. Nate Paul, that's it. It sounds more like a baseball player. Anyway, this guy, Nate Paul, was getting investigated for all this corruption while Ken Paxton was the attorney general. Then Ken Paxton pulled some strings to get him uninvestigated. And they were close friends. And this guy had been donating to Tallarico or to Paxton's campaign and all of this stuff. And so people in the DA's office said, this is not right. And so then they got investigated by the feds for that. This was under Biden that the investigation was open. It was closed under Trump, with no reason given other than, they only prosecute Democrats. There's no reason that the investigation was dropped. It's not like they found out the facts were wrong and dropped the investigation. They dropped the investigation even though the facts were right. Like factually, Ken Paxton committed crimes. So then he got impeached by the Republican Party in the House, and the Democrats. But a lot of the Republicans were also impeaching him. And then he did not get convicted by the Senate because he pulled enough strings. He had just enough power in the Senate to avert that disaster. But that doesn't mean he didn't do it. So that's one thing, right? He is an incredibly corrupt person. He has made millions of dollars off of being a politician in Texas. He's one of the most corrupt politicians in the state of Texas. Do you know how corrupt you have to be to piss off Republicans in Texas? You have to be really, really corrupt. So that's one. So that he's not already popular, right? That's number one. The second thing is he's tied himself to Trump in a way that he can never be untangled. And right now, Trump is losing popularity in Texas. And I'll go through a number of things. And it's not like Tallarico has to win all of the votes. He just has to pick up enough votes to win the election. And so he's, if he peels off some here and peels off some there, then he can actually win. All right. So one area he can peel some voters off from is the farmers, especially the beef farmers, which, is not a small number in Texas. Between the tariffs, removing the tariff, there's a kind of a double hit that for farmers in Texas, for the beef farmers in Texas. First, there were the tariffs that made them raise their prices, right? And that's one of the reasons that beef prices are up. Like they have to buy fertilizer and they have to feed their cattle and all of that kind of stuff. They're already dealing with some issues because there's been some droughts, and it's not like cows aren't chickens. You can't, slaughter a bunch of them and then within a few, within a year have everything replenished. Cows don't grow that fast. Like, it takes, I think, 2 or 3 years. I want to say 2 years to get a cow to go from calf to food. Oh, hey, Walter. Thanks for commenting on my shorts to know that, so I know somebody's watching them. Good to see you, bud. So, it takes 2 years to go from a cattle to food. So that's number one. They were already struggling. And then you had the tariffs that made it more expensive. Then on top of that, you had them cut the tariffs on Argentina beef so that you could actually have foreign competitors undercut, Texas beef, because the Texan farmers had to pay more. And then to cut prices, Trump cut the tariffs on the Argentine beef. All right. So that really pissed off the farmers. And a lot of the farmers were involved with and or sympathetic to the lawsuit against the tariffs. So that's one thing that makes him unpopular there. The second thing that makes him unpopular there is these cuts to Medicaid that are going to cause a lot of rural hospitals in Texas to shut down. And some of them already have. And in Texas, in small towns across the country, actually, hospitals are usually A, the largest employer, and B, the largest consumer. Shutting them down hurts the economy. It hurts the local economy. When you stack that up with the tariffs and the hurt he's putting on beef farmers, then that also causes problems. And then you've got the cuts to SNAP benefits, which don't just affect Black people, believe it or not. There are white people who collect SNAP. Yes, there are. And so when you've got prices going up and you're already poor and you already can't afford food, and then the SNAP benefits that are the thing that is keeping you able to feed your children, and those things get cut, that becomes a real problem. And then you're told that you're committing fraud or something. So that's going to hurt. Another thing that's going to hurt is the mass deportations. And this ties back to the farming thing a little bit, because a lot of the beef farmers, because one, around 30% of workers on beef farms are illegal immigrants. And then two, a lot of the people that work in meat packing, I think it's around 40 or 50% of the people who work in the meat packing plants are illegal immigrants. And so that's all you got. These farmers, that impacts, they get their cattle, they get it raised, they send it off to be butchered. And then the window of time that they have to butcher that cow, it doesn't get butchered because there's nobody there to butcher it. So you're really hurting the beef farm industry in Texas. And it's a big industry. Did you know that Texas has more private farms than any state in the country? And if I recall correctly, it's like half the private farms in the country. There's a lot of small farms in Texas. So this is not a small number. So that's that's the next thing. Then on top of that, with the mass deportations, he had made all this headway that he bragged about with the Latino vote. Latino vote, Hispanic vote, I don't know what to call it. Anyway, he made some headway there. But then they started just making racial profiling acceptable. And now you have a lot of Hispanic people that feel like they cannot leave their house without having to worry about ICE busting them. Even citizens, because you have people that are citizens that are being detained by ICE. We can't keep track of how many because they don't tell you. But Politico did a study and they found 180. And that was, like in a couple of days research. And that was a while ago. It's probably much higher now. So, and then you've got, people being assaulted for, videotaping and, not even disobeying the law. You've got ICE agents assaulting people. That is turning off a lot of voters. And then the biggie, inflation. And today, Donald Trump said, "I love inflation." Those actual words came out of his actual mouth. He said, "I love inflation." He said those words. And if the Democratic Party wants to win the election in a landslide, all they have to do is air that on every commercial they make over the next 6 months. That is the most politically damaging thing that any Republican could have said. Because every election now is just all the Democrats, like people are saying the Democrats need to run on something. They can't just run against Stop Trump. Yes, they can. I'm not saying they should. But stopping Trump right now is the path to victory. People need to stop saying that stop Trump. You can't just win on stop Trump. The Republicans won on stop Biden or stop Harris. They didn't have a single issue other than mass deportation and open the borders, which isn't even a real thing. Okay. So when you take all those different categories of voters, and then the last thing, and this is one, Tallarico, they've been attacking Tallarico for being a vegan. He's not. He never said he was. It's all just a made-up Republican thing based on the fact that some years ago he had a campaign that said they were going to be a non-meat campaign. I don't even know what that means. But anyway, Tallarico always ate meat. He didn't start eating meat. He's not eating meat he's not a hypocrite. He's not, it's just nonsense. And if he is a vegan, so what? And they're saying, oh, he said God is non-binary. God is non-binary. God does not have a penis, y'all. God does not have a vagina. If God does not have a penis or a vagina, he is by definition non-binary. He said that the medical community says that there are 6 genders. The medical community does identify 6 genders based on what he was talking about. He was actually reading a fact. And, there's some possibility that Donald Trump heard him say he's cisgender and thought that meant that, and heard that as 6 genders or whatever. Anyway, so they're trying to pretend he's like some sort of transgender person. And again, even if he were transgender, so what? But he's not transgender and he's not vegan. In Texas, you might have a hard time winning a statewide election if you're transgender. I'll give you that, because there are enough transphobes in Texas. But he's not transgender. All they have on Tallarico are just complete balderdash lies. And once they run out of those, they're going to have to run on something themselves. You can't, if the Democrats can't win on Stop Trump, how are the Republicans going to win on Stop Tallarico? And the other thing about Tallarico, if you haven't actually watched him, if you haven't actually heard him speak, If you don't know anything about him, I encourage you to go and look at some videos. He is one of the calmest, most well-demeanored, articulate politicians I've seen since Obama. He is a really intelligent, thoughtful, careful person. I mean, and they're like sitting there saying, "Oh, he doesn't have testosterone," or what. He's not effeminate. It's just there's such a weird attack on him that it's just bizarre. It's like they're flailing at everything that they thought worked in 2020, or 2024. They won in 24 because of inflation, and they can't run on that anymore. All right, so let me go through some comments. So I think, when you add up the Latino vote, oh, and one more thing, he's actually a Christian, and he's more Christian than Ken Paxton is. He's got a PhD in theology. He is a very genuine Christian. And so he could win some of the Christian vote. He could peel off some of the Christian vote, which is generally, like the white Christian vote is generally conservative, but he can peel off a percentage of that. He can peel off a percentage of the Latino vote. He can peel off a percentage of the rural vote. And when you start adding all of those things up, you could get to enough of an overall percentage of people that he has peeled off that he wins the election. So this is a very real chance for the Democrats to pick up a seat. And the last thing on top of all that is all the off-year elections that we've had that have seen a consistent double-digit gain by Democrats. So, all right, I'm going to go through some of these comments. I can't remember the last time I bought a steak. No steak money. Right? I mean, I can barely afford ground beef anymore. $78 doesn't go so far. I cannot afford meat anyway. I was joking on Twitter that Donald Trump is doing more to get people to not eat beef than AOC could ever do. All right, so half hawk, half man says, "Hey, bro. So the mainstream scientific view is that abiogenesis is nomalogically impossible and likely occurred on Earth. But the detailed mechanism is..." I don't know what abiogenesis is, and I don't know what nomalogically means. So let me look this up. I don't know what it... Oh, so you're talking about life happening spontaneously? Abiogenesis is a natural process by which life arises from non-living matter such as simple organic compounds. What is nomological? Okay, according to the laws of physics. All right, so I've translated that into words I understand, and likely occurred on Earth, but the detailed mechanism. I think I can agree with all that. I don't know if, I don't know what that has to do with anything. California's election is cheated. I'll get into that later. Support ICE. I'd rather not. Thank you, ICE, for enforcing our immigration laws. They're not. They're actually breaking our immigration laws. Like, if you're going to tie asylum in with immigration, then they're breaking those laws. They are detaining infants. That's against the law. They're detaining illegal immigrants for more than, 30 days, I think, is the limit, without any chance to see legislation. They aren't enforcing our laws. They're breaking many laws. They are enforcing some of our laws, but they are also breaking some of our laws. Also, another thing that's against the law is murder, and they've murdered American citizens. Democrats hate America. We do not hate America. I would say when you say Democrats hate America, then you are hating Democrats. And if you hate Democrats, then you hate half of America. Why is it you don't hate America, but somehow if I disagree with you, I hate America? No, we love America. We just don't want to see Donald Trump ruin it. Why do all these lib Democrats look the same? I don't think we all look the same. I certainly hope nobody else has to go through life looking like me. Well, at least here in Philadelphia, you can get affordable bourbon. Somebody hosted over 10,000 bottles worth last Friday. Wow. If I still drink, that would be cool. You're wasting your breath. Okay. I don't know what. Yeah, you already said that. Okay. We love what ICE is doing. Okay. You do. But, you know, a lot of people don't. Yeah, Nick, that gets you banned. I was molested as a child. You start calling me a pedophile, and you're done. You're not allowed here anymore. Okay. We've already been through that, Nikki, or Nick. We do not have an actual Nazi in our party. You guys, Stephen Miller is an actual Nazi. Let's not pull punches here. But Graham Plattner is not a Nazi. I covered this already, but he got a tattoo that nobody knows is a Nazi symbol. Like almost nobody knows it. And he got it and he found out it was a Nazi symbol and he got it covered up. That is the full extent. And this happened 20 years ago. So no, I'm sorry, that doesn't make him a Nazi. It makes you a gullible fool to believe that, you know, you heard this thing on some right-wing podcast and then you run around telling it like you're somehow like, ooh, we're defeating the Democrats with propaganda and lies. Right. 2024, your options were bad. It was the Venn diagram lady versus the orange gray guy. I actually feel like Kamala Harris. I'll tell you, I did one of my explainer videos on Kamala Harris and what she was actually, you know, what her actual platform was. And I had people saying, you know, if she actually talked about this, she would win the election. And like Republicans, like Trump voters said, you know, this sounds like it's good. I'm sure if Trump is a Nazi, I'm not. Donald Trump likes to quote Hitler. Graham Plattner had a Nazi death skull tattoo, and he's a Dem. But he didn't know it was a Nazi death skull tattoo when he got it. And he got rid of it. And again, I've already talked about this. So I'm not going to talk about it again. Honestly, all politicians, Democrat or Republican, don't care about the people anymore, just cooperations. I don't think that's I think that's too sweeping of a statement. Can you give any dildo suggestion? What is dildo? Oh, Democrats did help us get here after all. I think democratic socialism is needed. I agree. I'm like, I think that what I hope is that we eventually kind of get to where the Democrat Party is the party on the right, and then there's a Democrat Socialist Party that's a party on the left, and then the two of those talk things out. I think to a large degree, we actually need to move towards the left. And people talk about the far left. And it's like, what makes far left? You know, like saying universal health care. Like, I think we should have universal health care. That's not a far left position. That is a position held by almost everybody in the world except for right-wing Republicans. That's not an extreme position. What is an extreme position is saying, I think we should ration healthcare based on your employment status and your income. That is an extreme position. Like, they talk about extremes and leftists and Marxists and Democrats and kind of run it all together. And they don't even understand what communism is or Marxism or socialism or what the difference is between those things. They just like to throw out epithets. And then if you properly call them a fascist, because they exhibit all the jingoistic, nonsensical ramblings of a full-fledged fascist, and quote Hitler, then it's like, oh, you're just destroying that word. It doesn't even mean anything anymore. Yes, it does. You just don't know what it means, and you never bothered to learn. We're going to talk about California rigging their elections. Should we talk about Texas rigging their elections? That's a fair point. Texas rigs their elections by making sure people can't vote. Did you know that the conviction rate for fraud in Texas is almost double that of Arizona's or of California's? Like, Texas has more fraud than California, actual cases of fraud than California, and it's nowhere near as big of a state. And shall we point out that California only made the number of Dem seats equal to the number of Texas? Yes, I think that's a fair point. America just needs to become more European. Most establishment Democrats are just slightly left Republicans, in my opinion. I think you're right. I think that, like Chuck Schumer, to me, he's not and I think that there are real differences. And I think people, like, I'm 58 and, been politically aware since I was 12. And so I've been watching this game unfold for 46 years. And there have been real divides between Democrats and Republicans for, that whole time. I'm not saying it started then. I'm saying that's when I started, paying attention. So I think people overly try and, make too much of, well, they're all the same. They're not all the same. But I think that they're both. I think that the Republicans are a far-right party and that the Democrats are a center-right party. I have no issues with socialism or communism. I learned my lesson in 1986. What happened in 1986? America is the only developed country in the world that refuses to recognize healthcare as a human right. That's right. America has the worst employee protections across the developed world. That's also right. We suck in a lot of ways. And when you talk about making America great again, and this is what, when we talk about what the Democrats need to do to, other than just be, stop Trump. What they need to do is start fighting for workers. Stop Trump and for workers. That's how you win everything. As a woman, I've lost rights in my lifetime, depending on the state that I'm in. That is insane. And it's like they want to make it even worse. Now they're going after birth control. Like, imagine you live in a state where a man can rape you, then you are forced to carry that child, forced to give the father who raped you visitation rights, and you're not even allowed to take birth control to prevent that nightmare scenario from happening. There is something so fundamentally flawed with that I cannot fathom why Republicans or any human being that has brain cells operating inside their skulls could not understand that is wrong. America has a rubbish, underfunded, underdeveloped social security system that doesn't actually help people. Fully agree. America's prison system has become privatized to make profit for private companies. 100%. It's too bad Americans don't know as much about America as British people apparently do. Not having enough voters is not fraud. We're going to get into the California thing in a bit. Okay, what is the difference? What is pretty far left to you, Wyatt? What's the difference between being center and being left and just not being MAGA? Like, give me like, let's take something like healthcare. What is the difference between left and far left? Well, I've always wondered, like, people just kind of throw around these words, but they're never defined. And what you think is far left and what I think of as far left might not be even the same thing, because it's all, fudgy. So when you say there's a difference between that, when you say Democrats are pretty far left, what makes them pretty far left? Like, I'd love to see your response to that. We have a quarter of the world's prison population, but only 5% of the entire world population. And I think we have more than twice as many prisoners as any country in the world. And that's not counting all the people right now that are incarcerated that are immigrants, including the infants. We are incarcerating infants. Like, that should, like, if you hear we're incarcerating infants, and you don't have, and they're not just being incarcerated, they are being held in conditions that are illegal by prison standards. Uh-oh. Hang on. Like, this is nuts. I'm from California. I would say that California is the, they call it the left coast. I would say California is more left than the traditional Democrat, but I would still say it's not far left, like, compared to Western Europe. It has the most billionaires in the nation. Yes, it does. It proves it works. See, and it proves that not everybody's going to leave California because they got rich. Some California billionaires have purchased water rights while the state had to ration water. I did not know this. Is this for, like, AI centers and stuff? California is not socialist or even democratic socialist. It is just Republican propaganda that portrays it as such. Yeah, it's further left than most of America, but it's still not, like, far left. Tech was just allowed to do whatever they wanted because regulation couldn't keep up. Yeah. And we need a president that's not defending AI. South Carolina law says the age of criminal responsibility is 7. Harry, I did not know that. That is unreal. And now the tech industry is just doing the same thing to the rest of the nation, making everything way too overvalued. Europeans go to school for free in most nations. Right. And not just high school. I think most countries you can get a college education. I think some of them you can even get, graduate degrees and not have to pay. Other countries you do have to pay. But my personal view is that the most essential resource in any country is its people. And because of that, the best thing you can invest in is those people. And the best way to invest in people is education. So I feel like any person in America should be able to go as far as their intellect, their curiosity, and their ambition take them. If somebody is capable of getting a PhD, they should be, and desirous of it, they should be able to get a PhD. If they want to go to trade school and be an electrician, that's fine too. I'm not saying everybody should get a PhD, but I think that if you can and you want to, you should be able to. There shouldn't be artificial barriers to it. And we don't know. Have you ever thought, like, maybe the the person that could cure cancer. And even, I mean, like people say cure cancer as though like you can cure cancer because cancer has so many different things. But let's say that you could cure a certain form of cancer and save millions of lives. They have that potential, but they don't have that money. And so they never get into college even. And so wealth extraction state, you even get job in industries after college in Europe. I did not know that. That's good. America, in some states, you can own an AR-16 but not drink alcohol till 21. That is backwards as bleep. I think that's almost every state. My mom had lupus, so I couldn't afford to go to school. Her illness bankrupted our family, which is never a thing that should happen. So there's like, this is what I mean. This is the example of a far right government. Number one, people should not go bankrupt because they get cancer. That's a far right symptom. Number two, people shouldn't have to forego school because their mom has cancer. You know, all of that, you know, and people are like, oh, you just want free school. No, I want my taxes to pay for that instead of killing children in Iran. I don't, Texas would like to get a vote there. Let me see. In Texas. Oh, in Texas, you have to be 18. Oh, but I think you can have one. You just can't buy one. Oh, no, to sell or give a firearm. Okay. So I'm actually surprised. Okay, the youngest. Oh, federal law says you must be 18 years old to purchase rifles and shotguns. So, okay. I did not know that. All right, well, I learned something new every day. So you have to be 21 to buy alcohol, but only 18 to buy a gun. 1 in 3 GoFundMes are for healthcare costs. 1 in 3 U.S. bankruptcies are for healthcare. And those numbers used to be higher before the Affordable Care Act. Look for them to go up. Used to be like before the Affordable Care Act, it was like 70% of senior bankruptcies were due to not having healthcare insurance, or were medical bankruptcies, not having insurance. People could have insurance and still go bankrupt because there were caps on how much the insurance would pay. After the ACA, there were caps on how much you had to pay. Now but then there were caps on how much the insurance company would pay. If you needed $2 million of care and your insurance had $1 million cap on it, you had to fork over that extra $1 million by yourself. And a lot of people don't have $1 million sitting around. And so they're senior citizens in retirement. They have to spend their entire life savings to just stay alive. That's wrong. This is far right. This is the result of far right ideology. Saying the Affordable Care Act is like a left extremist thing is actually, if you are so far to the right that you think that healthcare is like a left wing, like a far left thing, like universal care is far left wing, then you are so far to the right that you can't even see anybody else. Then you're the one too far to the right. It's not everybody else is to the left. You're to the right. We make sure to control the rest of the global economy too, but that's quickly changing with this administration. And you've got countries that are working around now, like the U.S. Donald Trump is permanently damaging America. And part of the reason he's doing that is he's permanently damaging our alliances. He's permanently damaging our economic relationships. China and Canada had a huge trade deal because they don't want to deal with Donald Trump. Walter says, I have to throw a yellow flag on that one. Colonizing terrorist country? Call me when we get into Cuba. I don't know which way. We're going to invade Cuba. But yeah, America has its own colonial history. I don't know. Yeah, I think this is when you have to be 30. Yeah, I'll look into this because I mean I know kids that go hunting with their dads. So I mean, like I guess you can have one, but you can't buy one. We have destroyed so many countries who tried to go off the petrodollar. The petrodollar is coming to an end. There's actually a lot of, because of the whole Iran war thing, it's having a negative effect on the future of the petrodollar. Hunting law and gun laws vary. Yeah, but you need a gun to go hunting. I want to stop you. I mean, like, I guess, I don't know. I mean, you don't need a gun. You can have a bow and arrow or something. Wanted to stop using the U.S. Yeah. And these are, like, this is a real possibility. And that's going to really affect our economy. Donald Trump is the single most destructive man in American history to our economy. I'm not saying that hyperbolically. I'm saying that objectively. And the fact that the U.S. has no old age pension system is bleeped. And they want us to work 2 more years before we can start collecting our Social Security now, Harry. I might not be able to retire until I'm like 72. I'll be lucky if I live that long. Yeah, this administration is making sure America will never be trusted globally again. Yeah, that's fair. I think BRICS is going to take over, and that's scary because they're dictator countries, some cosplaying as a communist country. Donald Trump's a big fan of all of those countries. Love one. I don't know what you're talking about. We had a pension system before Reagan. Yeah. This is one of the reasons I say that the Democrats should go back to fighting for like blue collar workers and middle class employees. We need to get back into employment rights. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing. And I'm going to show you a video that I made here. This is about the California elections, and we'll spend, as much time as you want on that. I'm going to step away for a second while I play this video. It's just a couple minutes. So I made this video to make it simple and easier to understand, so that I feel like these statistical arguments about California and stealing the election are so silly. Like, you have to be silly to think that Democrats rigged California, where they've like won every statewide election for 30 years. Like, all of a sudden, they need to rig the election. Get away. All right, but so they're talking about that. There's all these arguments about the statistical probability that what's his name would the reality star whose name escapes me right now. Like he would get so many of these votes on election day and then so few votes afterwards. Let's look at that. This is a video I made to address that argument.
Some people argue that because Democrats tend to do better in mail-in voting than Republicans, and because those ballots are often counted later, the changing vote totals are statistical evidence of fraud. The problem with that argument is that it assumes voter behavior is random. But voting behavior isn't random. Different groups of people vote in different ways. Republicans have been more likely to vote on Election Day. Democrats have been more likely to vote by mail. So what does that mean? Imagine that for weeks before the election, people are putting blue marbles into a jar. Then on Election Day, people start putting red marbles into the same jar. By the time voting is over, there are 300 blue marbles and 200 red marbles in the jar. Now you seal the jar and give it a good shake. At that point, the election is over. Every marble that is going to be counted is already in the jar. Nobody is adding new marbles. Now you start counting. Because most of the red marbles are on top, those are what you're counting first. Then, as you keep going, more blue marbles start showing up. Eventually, after you've counted every marble that was already in the jar, you discover there were 300 blue marbles and 200 red marbles all along. It would be absurd to say that the blue marbles are fake just because they were counted later. They were in the jar before the counting even started. This is where a lot of people make a basic statistical mistake. They act as though voting behavior should be random, like flipping a fair coin. But suppose you flip a coin and it comes up heads 70% of the time. What have you proven? You haven't proven that the flips didn't happen. You haven't proven that the results are fraudulent. You've only proven that the coin isn't behaving randomly. The same thing applies to elections. The statistics don't prove the votes aren't valid. They simply show that voting behavior isn't random. Most mail-in ballots were cast before Election Day. They were already in the jar. They were just counted later.
Okay. So, any thoughts on that? So, like, they're trying to pretend like there's some sort of massive conspiracy and this is a statistical thing. But all they prove is that human behavior is not a statistical thing. Hang on one second here. Kitty just joined the studio. Would you like to pop on, Kitty, and say hello? Here, let me. Oh, I can't see. I don't want to put you on if you don't want to be on. It's okay. Are you okay?
Hi.
Hi, Kitty.
Where have you been?
I talked about it at the beginning.
Okay, well,
I was just going through a whole lot of things and had to step away for a minute for my own sanity.
Yeah, did everything get all?
Well, more or less, some ways I feel like I got some soul cleaning done.
Oh,
So,
good. Good.
Feeling back to myself a little bit. And it feels good to be back on the show.
Oh, I bet it does. I bet it does.
Feels good to be and seeing some of my old friends.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't seen Brett yet, but Walter's on today and Harry. You remember Harry?
Mm-hmm. Are you back?
I think I'm back. I think. I'm thinking I'm back. You get the you know the movie quote.
Mm-hmm.
So, everybody keeps asking if I'm back. I'm kind of thinking I'm back. I think I don't know. So anyway, did you watch? Were you able to see the video?
I hadn't even. I literally. I've been so busy that I didn't even. I just opened up my YouTube just now and got your alert that you were on, my Blue Sky, and then I saw that you were coming on. I was like, oh, I'll just pop on and see if you're still out there.
So I was going to talk about, this whole thing about California elections being stolen, which is like, like the Democrats really need to rig the elections in California to steal the election there.
Yeah,
All right.
it's the whole thing.
So I made
It's
this video.
shenanigans. It's just lubricating for him to not follow the wishes of the people when we vote. It's just more lubricating for that stuff. So rhetoric. I don't understand why taking a long time means cheating. To me, taking a long time means, wow, they're being really thorough.
And
I
that's
don't
actually
understand their logic there. So
the actual, and that's not just the reason that they take so long is one, they want to make sure that every vote gets counted.
Mhm.
Like they don't
Yeah,
want to say,
that's
oh,
the
we,
thing.
this came in a day late, even though
Mhm.
you voted on time and came in a day late, so your vote doesn't count.
Exactly.
It's like, it's not, if you vote before election day, your vote should count, period.
Yeah.
And provided you're actually an American citizen. The second thing, but the other thing they do is they go through and they validate every signature to make sure that people who, like, they're not casting votes that aren't valid. So they have, like, somebody from each party, like, approves every single ballot that goes through. And you're talking about like a 10%, like, is it 11 or 12%, something like that, of the country lives in California. One of the reasons no other states have this happen, no other state has nearly as many votes to count.
That's the thing, is that it's literally like more populous than most small countries. So it's there's a lot of people there,
So they
especially in the Los Angeles area.
right. And so that, like they're really, actually, I feel like, and I don't see why there's so much urgency to get a next day thing. Like, we've known since election day, more or less, that it was going to be, we knew right away who was going to, it wasn't official, but we knew who was going to be in the governor runoff. And there was some uncertainty about the second person in the mayoral election. And that's where they get into all this stuff. But there was absolutely no way Donald Trump Jr., whatever, not the actual Donald Trump Jr.
No, you're talking about the Hills bro trying to make his next money because he's blown through all his cash.
Yeah, the reality star that.
Well, the realities are from the Hills.
Oh, the Hills. Oh, is that? I didn't. I know nothing about reality TV.
I unfortunately do, and I've seen a couple of episodes. Not really my thing. Not, you know me. It's not my thing.
So anyway, he's gone, and then they're all upset about it. But like, there was no way he was going to win the runoff anyway.
Not a chance.
I mean, this is like stealing your own car or something.
Totally.
All right, so we're gonna go through some comments here, and so.
Well, I want to catch you up with what's been going on my end.
Okay, go ahead.
So let's see. We've had a couple cease and desist letters.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about from the Epstein thing?
From my Epstein wiki, yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
You got some attention.
We've got some, well, I didn't personally, but one of my sleuths has. One of them comes from the president and the first lady of the United States.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're definitely getting some attention. Several of my sleuths have broken some really big stories via the Epstein case, and we are starting our own podcast at the end of the month on the 30th called the Butterfly Bureau.
Oh.
So that's basically going to be more reiteration and explanation of the things that we've been putting out there into the world, and so on and so forth. So
well, I'll definitely pump that out for you.
Thanks.
And I think there's real value to that. I think that this is one of those things where, people are learning by osmosis, and they're not really getting all the details. So, and it's one of those things where I just do not have the wherewithal to, like, this is like just such a massive thing.
Well, and again, there's like
Who's the one guy that you had
there's
on?
like 30 of us.
Oh,
There's like 30 of us sleuths now, and about 15 of us are active daily.
who's the guy that was on the show?
Oh, that was Anthony
Anthony.
Andrews. We have a whole team. I mean,
He's like an encyclopedia on the Epstein files.
we are working with Ellie Leonard, who is like this amazing award-winning, investigative journalist. I've been a fan of hers for years, and she's over on Substack. And we have Becca Day, who is an investigative influencer, and she's a freaking savant and can tell a story like no other, that we've teamed up with. And we have we've got a librarian, and we've got an archivist, and we have a data scientist, Rye, which you should have on this show sometime. He is amazing. So we have this amazing team that we have put together now, and we all are just kind of cooperatively working. So we have people that work in influencing, and they're putting the information out, and we have journalists who are writing. We have I'm working on the wiki and putting articles out on the wiki, and we have a data scientist who keeps finding all these ways for us to manage the data. So for example, he has made this incredible tool. One of the things that we struggle with all the time is that people are putting out fake pictures that they're claiming are from the
I hate that.
file. Well, we have this amazing tool that's a reverse image search. And this thing is so accurate and so fantastic that all you have to do is drop the image in there, and it'll tell you whether or not it's a real image from the files.
That is great.
And it
really
matches. We have facial recognition on there now that we're sort of training. And so I've partnered with Epstein Data. That's Rye, Dr. Rye. And he is sort of the AI guru when it comes to files, and put together this amazing site and we've teamed up. And so like, he's the AI client that we use for, ask me anything about the Epstein files. And we have the reverse image search, and we have a map up there that shows you like which countries are involved, and we have a justice tracker, and so there's all these advances that we've made, that we kind of went from this like little standalone wiki to we've kind of put together this whole kind of detective agency and we're plowing through the files, and we're connected to the oversight committee, and we give them information, and we're connected with survivors, and we're helping their attorneys with information, and people pull in requests and say, hey, do you know about this? And we're able to give them
fantastic.
pieces. So it's really exploded into this amazing thing.
Well, if you need any help, I think I can volunteer to take over covering all the people who have been prosecuted in America over the Epstein situation.
I see. So
it probably won't take very long.
One person.
And so she might get a pardon if Todd Blanche has his way.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's great. I think that like when people post those fake pictures, I always like anytime I see a picture like that, I take it over to Chat GPT, post it and tell it, is this real? And then he tells me, no, that's not real. And so then I go back and I'll tell the person, you should take this down. And then I'll go back and see if they did. Those things do more damage.
They do, and they muddy the waters, and then they muddy the waters in such a way that make new survivors coming out, because we have some new ones. It creates enough doubt to create problems when we're trying to do things like put together prosecution files and investigate things, and it's just not the right thing to do. I usually ask them to change it and remove it as well, and usually use that as an opportunity to talk about the image search.
I think of I call it a Jussie Smollett situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because like remember what happened with Jussie Smollett and everything.
No, remind me.
Okay, so he's a black actor that kind of invented this story about how these people in MAGA hats assaulted him, and he went to the police station and reported this crime, and because he's a relatively famous actor, he got all this attention for it, and so now anytime any MAGA does anything illegal, they just scream about Jussie Smollett. And they just they use this false thing to smear legitimate things. And so when they make these pictures where like you've got Donald Trump with all
the little blonde girls
that aren't real, these Photoshop pictures, it makes it, if something comes out real, then people will just assume it's another fake thing. And I don't like that.
Yeah. So just like the talking about cannibalism and the satanic ritual things, these are some of the things that are also, we don't have validation for yet. And so we need to
rituals?
be careful. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of people that say that there's these cannibalistic blood ritual things that occurred. It's conspiracy. It's muddying the waters. We have nothing thus far, and we're pretty far in.
So this is a fake thing that people are talking about. So this is like sort of the same thing as going on with QAnon.
Right.
Exactly. So that's no good. Yeah, I just, if you're watching, please be careful. Like, fact check everything you hear about the Epstein files, because if you report one negative things, you can prevent people from listening to every actual thing.
Exactly. So we have to be careful. Well, I'm going to let you go because my dinner just arrived.
Just real quick.
Okay.
Skippy says never cease and never desist.
Oh, we're not.
Just thought you might want to say hi to Skippy.
Hi, Skippy. Yeah, we're not. We don't own anything. He can sue us. Good luck. Have fun.
Good luck. Enjoy your food, and thanks for popping in.
All right. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye. So anyway, back to California. We've got some comments here. Okay, so Walter says you're not familiar with Social Security, Harry. I think there was the private pensions and then Social Security. Private pensions used to be the way that Americans retired after a living, after they worked, in a company their whole life. Social Security was supposed to replace that, but our 401ks have been raided by rich assholes in the stock market. Walter, in the UK, we have something called universal credit, which is our version of Social Security. So Social Security and pensions are different things. Free Cuba. I don't know what that means. Does free Cuba mean invade Cuba? What do you mean when you say free Cuba? I have no idea what your position is on Cuba. I think America needs to stop invading other countries under the pretext that they're freeing them. I don't think Iran feels free right now. I don't think the girls that are dead feel free right now. I don't think their parents feel free. And I also think that America, I've done quite a bit on this, America needs to stop trying to govern all of South America and Latin America and the entire Western Hemisphere. Hopefully my pension will be there. I hope so too, buddy. The American bread and circus is way too strong. I don't know what that means. We also have a state pension, which allowed people, when they turn 67, to collect £12,000 a year automatically as long as you have full NI contribution. That's helpful. I mean, probably not enough to live off of by itself, but it's supplemental. Trump and Elon rigged the 24 election. I do not think that's true. I've gone into it. I did a big study on it, and I just could not find any mechanism whereby that's possible. It is possible to hack a voting machine, but they're air gaps, so you'd have to actually be there. There are about 200,000 voting precincts. There were about 150 million votes. So that means there's an average of 750 voters per precinct. So let's say you need to, move the needle. Let's say you lost the election by 10,000 votes and you need to win it by enough to get outside of the margin of error so you don't automatically trigger the recount where everything is going to get exposed and screwed up. So let's say you need to move the needle, 40,000 votes, or we'll just make the math easy, 37,500 votes, because there's 750 voters per precinct. So that would mean that you would need to infiltrate, because you can't just have, precincts like 750 to 0. You're kind of limited in how many votes you can manipulate in each precinct, right? So let's say you flip each precinct like 10 votes or 75 votes, 10%. All right. So to get to 37,500 votes, that would mean that you would have to rig, and just for one state, by the way, just for one state, you would need to infiltrate 500 different precincts and rig the election, which would mean that you have to talk to, like, because of the way the whole thing works, thousands of people for one state. And none of those people would go and say, hey, by the way, these people are trying to rig it. There's no, it would just be impossible. I don't think that 2020 election was stolen, because I think it is just logistically impossible to rig an election. And I don't think the 2024 election was stolen, because I don't think it's logistically impossible to rig an election. I think that they can manipulate it, which is very different than rigging it. Manipulating it by controlling who is allowed to vote. And I think that there were people who were disenfranchised in 2024. We talked about this before the election. Oh, all these people aren't going to be able to vote. And then after the election, we never go back and say, was the difference because we disenfranchised all these people? So I don't think that, I think that the 2024 election was manipulated by determining who was allowed to vote, but I don't think it was rigged. Trump is a moron. That's about the nicest thing I can say about him. The problem in Los Angeles is that Republicans don't live in Los Angeles. You have to be a registered voter of the county. Spencer never had a real shot. I mean, it's just, it would be like me saying that like the Oklahoma election is rigged or something. California is the most democratic state in the country, and Los Angeles is like one of the, probably I don't know if it's more liberal than Berkeley or San Francisco. It's like one of the most liberal cities in the entire country. It's so weird to say that, oh, you had to steal the Los Angeles election. That's like stealing your own car. And like I said, California only redistricted after Texas. Yes. So this is a little bit off topic, but yes, California they gerrymandered, we'll use the word, they gerrymandered their districts to offset the gerrymandering done in Texas. And there's something called dummy mandering. And dummy mandering is when you try to jerry rig, so like to gerrymander a district. What you do is you take a district that's really safe and you peel off some of the voters from that, and then you add that to a district that's close. So then you can get both districts, and you lose some of your lead in one district, but you gain, you just attach that. But there's always a danger of dummy mandering, and dummy mandering is when there's like a swing in the election, and so you don't win the new seat that you were trying to gerrymander, but you also peeled off so many votes from the district that was safe that you lose that too. And this actually happened in 2018. Was it 2018? It's actually happened, and I think it happened in Texas. So it's called dummy mandering. And I feel like there's a very real shot that Texas could actually lose seats as a result of their gerrymandering. And California only, yes. You get the state pension, and if you don't have enough money with private pensions, you get pension credit to ensure you can live. That's such a reasonable thing to do, like make sure that senior citizens can survive. Funny you mentioned Oklahoma, because I'm from Oklahoma. Carpetbagging? No, I'm not in Oklahoma, but I think Oklahoma is the reddest state in the country. If I remember right, it was the only state in the country that every single county voted for Trump. Like it's really, really red. There was that. Some of the people that are in Kentucky are like way over the top right-wing nut jobs. Like the guy that wanted to, basically wants to force the 10 Commandments into all the schools and the Bible and all that. What do you think of the situation in Sudan? I don't know what's going on in Sudan. Oh, there's a civil war. Oh, Sudan. Yeah. Had a bit of a. I thought that Donald Trump stopped that one. He claims to. Yeah. I think it's horrendous. I'm not sure what to do about it. It's not front and center in the American media, to put it mildly. So who was that guy in? I can't remember the guy's name in Oklahoma. Oh, that's not part of his 8 wars yet. What's the one that I'm thinking of there? I think this one, that's maybe Congo or something, somewhere in Central Africa, not Northern Africa. And I like the way you put yet on there. Like it's only a matter of time before he starts running around peacocking that he solved that war too. Yeah, I'll look into it. And next time I do the show, hopefully tomorrow, I'll learn about it and let you know what I think. I don't want to comment too much on it because I don't know enough to comment on it, and I don't like to comment irresponsibly. But anywho's, I think I've made my comeback, and hopefully I'll be doing some more shows in the near future. We're over 2 hours today, so I think that's good enough for now. But anyway, yeah, Democrats are gonna have a big Tuesday night this November. And I'll talk to you later. Give you my little departing song and see you later.
Burn through the noise, now the pieces align. Pull back the curtain, let you see the design. Machine Punk Kelly, yeah, we play that game, but the truth stays steady while they shuffle the frame. He's still rising, but the signal cuts clean. What you saw tonight ain't just what it seemed. From the chaos to the calm, let it settle in slow. Take the light with you when you step out the show. Out clear, eyes up, don't fall for the spin. Hold that line when the noise rolls in.